Funny thing about the truth, it doesn't knock. It breaks in, kicks the door down, tracks mud through your clean little narrative, and flips every picture frame you hung to make the mess look pretty. See, people don't fear lies. Lies are cozy, soft, easy to decorate. But the truth is a scream in a silent room. It's a mirror without the makeup. It's raw, ugly, and very, very inconvenient. They spend so much time crafting it, don't they? The story, the illusion, a delicate little web of words, half-truths, and sweet little performances, all designed to keep you dizzy, spinning, second-guessing your own senses. They dress it up nice, too. Smiles that don't reach their eyes, compliments with hooks hidden inside, apologies dipped in poison. Manipulation isn't loud, it's polite, it's charming. It wraps around your neck like a silk ribbon while telling you it's a hug. And the moment you start pulling at the threads, the moment your eyes stop glazing over and start sharpening, something shifts. Not in you, in them. They know, they know the moment the spell breaks. You can see it in the flicker, that little glitch in their expression when you don't react the way you're supposed to, when you don't apologize for breathing, when you stop shrinking. They notice, and suddenly their tone changes. It's not so sweet anymore. They'll say you're overreacting, too sensitive, bitter, cold. They'll call you unstable when your mind starts to stabilize, because the biggest threat to a manipulator is someone who's finally seeing clearly. And it's not just about waking up, it's what you start remembering. All the moments that didn't make sense at the time, all the words that felt off but you brushed aside, they come flooding back like puzzle pieces you didn't realize you were missing. The gaslighting, the guilt tripping, the way they rewrote history every time you tried to bring up the past, and anger. But most dangerous of all, clarity. See, the truth doesn't just come knocking, it storms in, and it doesn't care about how well they rehearse their lines. It doesn't care how long they've kept the performance going. Once it shows up, all their careful choreography unravels, because you can only manipulate someone who doubts their own reality. But when they stop doubting, when they start trusting their gut over your lies, you've lost your grip. And that's when the panic sets in. They'll try harder at first. One last performance, one more sob story, a crisis to pull your empathy strings, maybe a sprinkle of nostalgia for good measure. Remember the good times? Remember the laughs? But even those memories start to feel tainted, because now you can see the strings. Now you know where the mirrors were placed and how the trapdoors worked. The truth has a way of lighting up the stage, exposing every prop and every actor for what they really are. And the funny part? The moment you begin speaking truth out loud, even in whispers, they'll say, "You're the manipulator." Projection is their favorite weapon. They'll twist your awakening into an attack, call your boundaries cruelty, label your refusal to be used as selfishness. But it's all noise, desperate noise, because deep down they know what's happening. They feel the power shift, the curtains rising, and they're not the director anymore. It's beautiful, in a way, watching someone squirm under the weight of the very game they used to play so well. They're not used to consequences, not used to being seen without their mask. And when people start believing your version of the story, when the truth starts slipping into conversations, into rooms they thought they controlled, they panic because manipulation thrives in darkness. But truth is blinding, and you don't even have to scream it. You just have to live it. You just have to walk differently, speak differently, carry yourself like someone who remembers what was done to them and refuses to pretend otherwise. You become living proof that their magic stopped working. And oh, how that terrifies them, because if one person sees it, more will. If one person breaks free, others might follow, and then the whole performance falls apart. They can smear your name, spin new lies, play the victim like it's an old familiar tune, but the melody's off now. People are starting to notice. The ones who used to clap are sitting in silence, watching, waiting, because once the truth starts slipping out, even a drop at a time, it spreads, it stains, and no amount of spin can clean it up. You ever notice how quiet it gets when you stop explaining yourself? When you stop over-justifying your worth, your choices, your gut instincts? There's a strange kind of silence that rolls in, thick and heavy, makes the manipulators twitch. Because silence, real silence, the kind that comes from knowing exactly what's been done to you, isn't weakness. It's a storm on pause. It's the calm that comes before the demolition begins. And that silence, it speaks louder than all the arguments you ever wasted your breath on. See, they relied on your voice, not because they cared about what you had to say, but because every time you explained yourself, every time you tried to defend the truth, you gave them another tool, another angle to twist, another word to take out of context. They needed you talking, because the more noise there was, the easier it was to blur the lines, confuse the scene, paint themselves as the victim. But when you go silent, really silent, suddenly there's nothing left for them to twist. And they hate that. Oh, they loathe it, because now the silence doesn't belong to them. Now it's not the kind they weaponize to punish you. This silence is yours. And it's deafening. It's a mirror held up to their face. And guess what? They can't stand the reflection. No more distractions. No more spin. Just stillness. And in that stillness, the truth starts breathing. It starts stretching its legs, cracking its knuckles, getting ready to speak for itself. But silence doesn't just rattle the guilty, it exposes them. Because they're not used to being observed without commentary. They're not used to someone watching quietly, taking notes, connecting dots. They're used to a scene, a performance, a back and forth. Without your emotional reaction, they lose the script. They trip over their lines. And suddenly all the masks they've worn start slipping one by one under the weight of your stillness. They'll try to provoke you, of course, poke at you with half-truths, guilt trips, and baited hooks. They want a reaction, something, anything to prove you still play by their rules. But nothing frustrates a manipulator more than realizing you've stopped playing altogether. That you're not waiting for closure, not begging for understanding, not trying to fix what they broke. You've stepped off the stage, and they're left performing to an empty theater. And here's the fun part. Others start noticing too. They start asking questions. Why did you go quiet? Why did you disappear from that circle, that conversation, that dynamic, and your silence? Oh, it makes people curious. And that curiosity, it's contagious. Because when the person who used to explain everything suddenly stops explaining anything, It means there's something worth listening for, something buried, something big, and the manipulator knows it. That's what scares them the most. They'll start talking for you, creating narratives in your absence, telling everyone you're unstable, unkind, ungrateful, because they need to fill that silence with something, anything, to distract from what might come crawling out of it. But let them spin their stories. Every word they speak in your silence only reveals more about them. The louder they get, the clearer it becomes who's got something to hide. And you stay still, watch, let the silence do its job, let it grow teeth, let it stretch into rooms they thought they controlled. Because silence isn't empty, it's loaded. It holds all the moments you endured, all the gaslighting you survived, all the truths you kept locked behind your teeth. And when that silence finally breaks, when the truth finally speaks, it won't need to scream. It'll whisper just loud enough to shatter everything. They thought they won when you stopped talking. Thought the silence meant defeat. But silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. It's a countdown. And they have no idea how close the clock is to zero. You know what really shakes people? Not when you scream, not when you fight back, not even when you expose them. What rattles them to their core is when you stop playing dumb, when you stop pretending you didn't notice the lies, the half smiles with daggers behind them, the conversations laced with manipulation like sugar in poisoned tea. Oh, they love it when you're clueless. Love the power imbalance, love being the puppeteer while you nod along trying to keep the peace, swallowing your instincts like they're irrational. But the moment you see it, the moment the light flickers on behind your eyes and you look at them differently, they feel it. There's no alarm bell, no grand announcement. It's subtle. You stop responding the way you used to. Stop laughing at their jokes that weren't funny. Stop asking for clarity when they speak in circles. They notice. Your silence sharpens, your eyes stop darting around for validation, and suddenly they don't know where they stand anymore. The balance shifts. Their tricks don't land, their guilt trips don't travel. And now they're nervous. Because you were never the fool. You just played the role to survive, to keep the peace, to keep the job, the relationship, the family gathering from imploding. But that mask, it gets heavy. And one day something snaps. Something inside you decides that pretending not to know is more painful than the fallout of being honest. And when that happens, you don't even need to speak. You just exist differently. You move differently. And that's what terrifies them. You see, manipulators aren't scared of anger. They expect that. They're not scared of confrontation. They train for that. What they're scared of is awareness, because awareness means you're finally connected to your power again. It means they've lost their favorite weapon, your doubt. Your uncertainty was their playground, but now you look at them like a magician who's seen the secret behind the trick. You know where the trapdoor is, you know the wires, and once you know, you can't unknow. They'll try to bring you back. Oh, they'll dangle the old bait. Guilt, nostalgia, even kindness. They'll rewind to that one good memory, that one soft moment, and say, see, it wasn't all bad, right? But now you see it all in context. You don't forget the good times, no. You just don't let them erase the bad. You don't let warm moments blind you to cold intentions. That's when you realize you were never stupid. You were hopeful. There's a difference, and hope can be dangerous in the wrong hands. The way they treated your kindness like currency, your trust like a toy, the way they played innocent while planting seeds of chaos behind your back, it all clicks. And the more you recall, the angrier you get, not at them, but at yourself, at how long you let it slide, at how many times you gave them the benefit of the doubt while bleeding internally. But don't be mad at yourself for surviving. Don't be mad for being loyal, even to someone who didn't deserve it. That wasn't weakness, that was heart. And now that same heart is awake, armored, and dangerous. They'll call it a phase. Say you're acting different, detached, cold. And in a way they're right. You are different. You've disconnected from the game, unsubscribed from the drama. You're no longer interested in playing the fool to make someone else feel smart. And when you sit in that power, quietly, unbothered, unaffected, that's when the tables truly turn. They'll feel it before you say a word, the energy shift, the way your eyes don't flinch anymore, the way your tone stays even while theirs climbs. They'll say you've changed. Of course you have. That was the point. You changed the moment you stopped pretending not to notice, the moment you decided that peace wasn't worth the price of your dignity, and now they know the game's up. Because the only thing more dangerous than someone who's angry is someone who's awake. You ever watch someone dig their own grave with a smile on their face? That's what happens when you give people rope and they think it's a gift. They think you're handing them power, control, the upper hand, when really you're just letting them reveal themselves. Funny thing about the truth, it doesn't need a spotlight, it doesn't need applause, it just waits patiently while people talk, lie, perform, and the longer you sit back and observe, the more they unravel. See, most people can't help themselves, especially the ones who wear fake innocence like perfume. Strong enough to cover the stench, but never strong enough to last. They'll slip. They always do. Because lies take effort, and the truth, that thing never breaks a sweat. You just watch. No need to confront, no need to shout, just let them keep talking. Because every manipulator's favorite sound is their own voice. And every time they use it, they expose another crack in their mask. People love to play hero in a story they created. They paint themselves as the savior while setting fire to the background. And they think you don't see it. Because you used to clap, used to nod along, eyes wide, pretending you didn't notice the script. But not anymore. Now you're watching the show from the front row, arms crossed, unimpressed. And that unnerves them. They don't know what to do when their performance falls flat. When your silence isn't submission, it's surveillance. They'll accuse you of being distant, cold, changed. They'll say you used to be so understanding. Of course you were. You used to believe their version of reality. But now, you're awake. And there's no snooze button on that kind of clarity. You see the patterns, the repetition, the recycled excuses wrapped in new vocabulary. Same manipulation, different font. And the more they talk, the clearer it gets. The more they scramble, the more obvious the illusion becomes. The beauty of truth is that it's boring. It doesn't scream. It doesn't shake. It just is. Like a puzzle that suddenly clicks into place and makes you wonder how you ever missed it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You realize how many conversations were traps, how many compliments were currency, how many questions were designed not to understand but to control. It's a game, one they thought they were winning, but you weren't losing. You were learning. Let them keep playing. Let them feel clever. because the longer they believe they're ahead, the more they expose themselves. They'll contradict their own stories, forget which lie they told to who. They'll start projecting, accusing you of things they're guilty of. It's not strategy, it's panic. It's the sound of someone trying to patch a sinking ship with duct tape. And you're just watching the water rise, knowing exactly how this ends. There's a certain power in letting someone think they've fooled you, not because you're weak, but because you're patient. You know that false narratives collapse under their own weight. No need to rush it, no need to rescue them. Let the consequences arrive on schedule. Let reality hit them like a punchline, because the truth always shows up, messy, late, uninvited, but oh so and when it does, don't gloat, don't scream, "I told you so." Just keep watching, keep listening. The same mouths that once lied so easily will suddenly stutter. The same eyes that used to look right through you will start avoiding yours. And the silence that follows, that's not peace. That's exposure. That's the sound of someone realizing they played the wrong person. So keep letting them talk. Keep letting them spin their little web, because when you already know the ending, you don't interrupt the story. You just sit back, smile, and wait for the trapdoor to open under their own feet. It's funny, isn't it, how the moment you stop playing along, they start calling you difficult. Not because you changed the rules, no, but because you stopped pretending the game was fair. The rules were always rigged. The board always tilted in their favor. You just used to tilt with it, smile through it, laugh at things that weren't funny, agree with things that didn't sit right in your gut, nod while they fed you half-truths like you were starving for them. And maybe you were for peace, for approval, for the illusion of love. But one day, you just stop. Not because someone saved you, not because the skies opened and gave you a sign, but because you got tired of feeling small in rooms you were meant to dominate. You got sick of asking, "Is it me?" every time someone twisted the narrative. Tired of rehearsing conversations in your head, trying to find the perfect way to say things so you wouldn't be painted as the villain in their little drama. And when you stop doing that, oh, they notice. They don't miss a beat. They feel the shift in your tone, the pause before you reply, the way your eyes don't dance around the room anymore, trying to read everyone's mood like some desperate empath on call. No, now your eyes are still, unapologetic, cold, even, and they panic, because that's the moment they realize they don't have you anymore. The puppet cut its own strings, and now it's just standing there. Now they start pulling out the tricks, the classics, guilt, blame, the good old gaslight anthem. You're not the same. Of course you're not. Growth is uncomfortable for them, especially when it means they can no longer use your kindness as a weapon. You've stopped over-explaining, stopped begging to be understood, and when they can't manipulate your words anymore, they start manipulating your silence. Twist it, spin it, tell people you've changed, that you're cold, arrogant, distant, because how dare you stop shrinking to fit their comfort zone? But here's the kicker. They don't want you healed. They want you quiet. They want you agreeable. They want the version of you that smiled while bleeding. And when they can't find that version anymore, they call you toxic. Just another scar on their story, another villain in the script where they're always the misunderstood hero. But that's okay. Let them rewrite history. Let them tell their side. Because the people they'll notice the pattern. They'll see the way you glow differently now. The way you don't flinch anymore. The way you walk into a room without carrying everyone else's emotional baggage. It's liberating, terrifying, and very, very necessary to stop playing therapist to people who never listen, to stop making excuses for behavior that's been excused one too many times, to stop asking for clarity from people who benefit from your confusion. It's not selfish, it's survival. Because being the bigger person shouldn't mean being the one who always bleeds first. It's not noble to be everyone's emotional punching bag. It's not love when it only works one way. So you stop answering messages that make your chest tighten. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop meeting them halfway when they haven't moved an inch and they hate it. Oh, how they hate it. Because control isn't something they hold, it's something you give. And once you stop giving it, they're powerless. That's when the tantrums start, the rumors, the fake concern masked as questions. Are you okay? You've been acting strange. They don't care about your healing. They miss the version of you that catered to their chaos. They're not checking on you. They're checking if you're still breakable. But you're not. Not anymore. You got scars where they expected wounds, walls where there used to be open doors, and a smile that doesn't ask for permission. You didn't become cold, you became clear. And clarity? That's the kind of power no one can fake. It's not loud, it doesn't need to prove anything, it just exists, steady, untouchable, and once you reach that point, there's no going back.